And so right away I'm going to have us start by breathing deeply and fully into the lower belly. And gently noticing if there's any gripping there, any sense of holding or agitation or fear. Any heaviness, any numbness. And if so, we're just gently softening here. Gently softening. Allowing the breath to be deep and full. So we're breathing in and breathing out. Gently letting go. Gently opening the pelvis, the lower belly, the softening in the hips and the sacrum. And gently noticing, like a supreme sense of silence, as you breathe in and breathe out. Gently noticing, acknowledging a very subtle opening. The pelvis, the Hara, this quiet sense of depth. So as you continue to breathe and soften, fully allowing awareness to be rooted in the lower belly, You may notice a gentle presence of warmth and aliveness. Very subtle. Waking up here. This gentle depth of being. So utterly different than the thinking mind, which tends to be so busy, and I invite you not to be on the surface of the second chakra center, the Hara, but rather to journey inward toward the center. And almost like you're entering a cave. And as you breathe and feel and open, you may notice a very subtle fiery radiance. And I'm not wanting you to witness this radiance. I'm inviting you to step into it, to join with it. And so as we do so, you may notice a greater softening and surrendering. The hips, the pelvis, the abdomen. This brewing fire comes with a sense of power. For some of you, it may feel almost as if you've entered the molten core of the earth. It's like a primordial depth, radiance, heat. And we are opening here. Opening here. Again, just for comparison to the egoic mind, this will feel otherworldly. So softening, trusting, opening. This rooted sense of depth. Fiery, non-dual radiance. Now, if there's anything here that's old, karmic, any fearful emotions or that type of thing, you may notice that this radiance begins to burn, begins to cook, begins to purify. Anything that is old and of the past. Sometimes that can be very subtle, sometimes a little bit dramatic, but either way, we're breathing, we're feeling, we're opening to this depth of presence, of radiance. So we're breathing, we're softening, we're opening. So gently inviting awareness to stay rooted here in the lower belly, and yet simultaneously you may notice an energy beginning to travel up the spine, including the third chakra center, this area right below the ribs, and just noticing if you're holding there and any gripping, and if so, softening, releasing, trusting, trusting. This radiant sense of power as it begins to expand and include the third chakra center. And so again, in a loving way, I invite you to feel into your ribs, all the muscles, tissues around the ribs, around the solar plexus, and all the way around to the back, the mid-back. And gently relaxing here, opening. Welcoming this light as it expands up from the earth, through the legs, the pelvis, the Hara, the abdomen, the third chakra center. You may even notice the lower half of your body really radiating with light. With light, fire, with radiance. And so you may notice this evening that this energy is coming, this quality of truth. It's like a fearless truth, power, a heat. And sometimes when an energy like this comes, the mind gets very, very serious. And it's okay to soften, to smile, to receive. Sometimes our human mind scares itself. Sometimes with seriousness comes like a tensing or a gripping. If that's the case, we soften, we open, we trust. We're opening to God, to truth, to our primordial nature. And so it's safe to relax. So as we relax more fully in the abdomen, you notice this energy continuing to rise and flowing up into the space of the heart. And with this, you may notice this energy of truth, of power, of radiance, immediately becoming much more light and buoyant. So as the heart comes online, you may notice a sense of sweet compassion. A sense of love. And a gentleness flowing throughout the torso and the ribs, the abdomen, the lower back, the mid-back, the upper back. So again, I invite you to smile at your beauty, your radiance, your innate divinity. Smile at the recognition this immense innocence, this light, this love. That you are. That you are. And by all means, if anyone's going through something intense, heavy or dense, I invite you to surrender this. Surrender it over to the Divine Mother. It's like you're placing it at her feet. Saying, "Oh Mother, this is too much for me. Hold me, support me, heal me, open me. You do not have to do this path alone. You do not have to do this path alone." And so we're breathing, we're feeling, we're opening, experiencing this column of truth and radiance as it's flowing up the spine. And this immense space of love. This immense space of love radiating from the heart. And so together, let us envision the heart spreading out on the horizontal plane, shining out past the arms, expanding 3 feet, 6 feet, 12 feet, 24, filling this room. Filling this building. Filling this campus. Shining out the right, the left, in front, behind. An immense heart. A strong and empowered heart. A rooted and compassionate heart. A fiery and radiant heart. So with each breath expanding, immensely. And so again I ask you, can you let go more fully into this depth of radiance, this depth of love? Allowing the fullness of your human self to be consumed by this holy fire. Surrendering and becoming this holy fire. Yes, quiet depth of radiance, light, of love. This column of truth throughout the central channel. And so softening the throat chakra, the shoulders, the jaw, the back of the skull, as this holy fire continues to ascend. And as this energy continues to ascend into the space of the third eye, you may notice a holy sound, high-pitched om of radiance, primordial radiance. And as we come into the space of the third eye, it can get a little intense, but I invite you to expand again on the horizontal plane, allowing the space of the mind to spread out 3 feet, 6 feet, 12 feet, 24 feet. Spreading out beyond the edges of the room, beyond the edges of the building. shining out into infinity. So with it, this radiance, holy radiance, shining out into infinity. Humming, vibrating, radiating. Because this energy likes no limits, I invite you to open the crown chakra. So that this column of light may flow up from the earth, the feet, the legs, the pelvis, the Hara, the solar plexus, exploding open the space of the heart. Exploding open in the space of the heart. And continuing to flow up through the throat chakra, the third eye, down the crown. So you may experience yourself as this fountain of light, of radiance, of truth, of power. Letting it flow. And sometimes when the energy gets quite intense, the spiritual superego comes online and tries to take control or micromanage. And if that's the case, see if you can just soften that. Stepping back into this column. Simply being the light. Being this immense love and radiance. Without any thought, without any efforting, without any micromanaging. Simply being the one. And so softening, softening, softening throughout the body. And so as this intensity begins to flow upward, sometimes the body, again, it might tense, might squirm a little bit, and that's okay, but just see if you can trust and soften there. So as you feel this fountain flowing up right through the central channel and out the top of the head, coming with this quite an intensity. You may begin to notice there is this response from heaven above. And so if you open, you may begin to notice very gentle, soothing presence of the Divine Mother. She begins to descend into the room, softening, blessing, supporting, nourishing. And so if you're open and receptive, you may notice very gentle heavenly energy beginning to flow down, softening the crown, the space of the mind. Softening the shoulders and the throat. Bringing sweetness, very gentle quality of Amrita. This very sweet and soothing bliss. This gentleness, this bliss is here for you to receive. And so for some of you, it'll be helpful to soften a little more fully in the jaw, soften more fully in the shoulders, behind the heart. A childlike, an innocent way we're receiving. As this grace begins to descend down into the space of the heart, really softening, softening, softening. Again, coming very sweet, subtle, gentle, Amrita, sweet bliss. And can you receive? Can you receive? I hear the voice of the Divine Mother saying, my darling, darling, darlings, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. Will you open? Will you receive my sweet presence? For I am here for you. For you. I have been waiting far too long. Far too long. And so let us not keep the Divine Mother waiting. Let us not shut her outside. Let us open our hearts, our body, our presence more fully. Receiving this heavenly love, which is here for you. For you. So welcoming the descent of this grace down through the crown, the space of the mind, flowing through the throat, flooding the heart, pouring into the solar plexus. Receiving, receiving, receiving. As this grace continues to descend down through the solar plexus, to the Hara, and again just noticing, can you let go a little more fully in the Hara, the lower belly, the pelvis, receiving, receiving. And as this grace pours down from the crown, the third eye, the throat, the heart, through the solar plexus, the Hara, pouring down through the root chakra, pouring into the earth itself. You may notice the fire of the earth waking up more fully, beginning to ascend upward. This grace of the Divine Mother descending downward. These two energies together, melting, merging to a holy divinity, holy radiance, holy truth. This divine alchemy. Happening right here. The center of your being, the fabric of your being. Immense light, immense grace, through in and throughout. So breathing, feeling, opening, becoming this immensity. This immensity. Gate, gate, gate. Paragate, parasamgate. Open, open, open. Eternally open. Gate, gate, gate. Paragate, parasamgate. And so, gently bringing the palms to the heart, allowing your body, your presence to be a conduit for this grace, for this light, this immense truth. Pour forth blessing, the fullness of this earthly realm, now and forevermore. Sometimes on the path, we go and we do a little meditation, we do a little yoga. we don't realize that this practice can have an immense impact. An immense impact on our way of being. An immense impact on our humanity, our sense of self. Can have an immense impact on this earth, this planet, the collective consciousness. Again, there's a million things we could be doing. We could be playing pickleball. I'll bet you there's a lot of people right now just playing a little pickleball. And having a little fun. Of course, nothing wrong with that. But when we meet in this way, we are literally being conduits for the divine. We're literally being a conduit for the divine here on earth. And we may, like in a real human way, not think that God needs our help. Like, why would the Creator need our help? But in a real sense, in a non-dual sense, we are God. We are an extension of God in human form. In human form. And again, it's very easy just to think, oh, I'm just this little human being. And it's me against the world. But the further we walk on the path, we begin to realize that we're divine beings. That we are literally extensions of God. And we can show up here on planet Earth as, a lower form of God, or just following our desires or animal nature. Or we can be a manifestation of a higher form of divinity. And so one of the greatest ways we cooperate in this is through opening deeply in the heart, opening deeply in your being, and allowing this grace, this light, this love to shine through you, to flow through you, to actually awaken and take root in this human form. Awaken and take root in this human form. And for some people, they might think, well, it's incredibly arrogant, egocentric, narcissistic to imagine that I am God. But it actually takes great humility to look inside and to see, to honor your divinity. To see that there's a human body here, and yes, animal desires and animal functioning and all that. But there's also something much deeper here. There's something pure, something noble, something truthful, something radiant and radically innocent. It takes great humility to honor the beauty of your heart. It takes great courage to invite, to allow this beauty to come forward. To come forward. Great courage. Jesus very easily could have been a quiet rabbi. He could have went with the program. He did not have to speak up and be seen. We never would have heard of him. We never would have heard of his teachings. He just would have been some rabbi. Some rabbi. In a tomb that the letters would have worn off just through the sands of time. Have no idea who this fellow was. But he chose to stand in the truth, to be the truth, to be this conduit of light. He didn't say, I want to be like a little mouse, not be seen, not be heard, not cause any trouble. I'm going to get out of the way of, the powers that be. But he chose something different. And of course, in his day and age, he paid quite a price to speak the truth. Quite a price. And I think hardwired into our egoic nature is like this, kind of like a tribal knowingness. Like if I speak out, if I am too bright, I might end up like that guy on the cross. But in this day and age, in this age, we are in an age of expression, literally. Literally. We're in an age of expression. And in this age, for most of us, the biggest danger in shining our light in the world is, someone be like, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? That's probably the worst case scenario. We're certainly not going to be nailed to a cross. We're not going to be like Joan of Arc and be lit on fire. If we share ourselves, and for example, if we share ourselves online, again, there might be a little nasty comment in the comment section of someone who's feeling a little insecure and spiritually superior or whatever. This courage that we are, this light that we are, it's bigger than that. It's not concerned. It's not concerned if someone is a naysayer. If you listen to this light inside, this depth of being, you'll see it wants to come forward and be this brilliance that you are. Like a sun wants nothing more than to radiate light. And you all, we all, we're suns. We're suns. And as we come on retreat here, this is one of the things we begin to discover. Oh, I'm not just that little voice in my head with all these memories. That's one aspect of me. But there's something far greater, far more vibrant and radiant. And the great question is, will you listen? Will you listen to the movement of your heart? Will you listen to this immense beauty and divinity and allow it to shine? Allow it to shine. Allow it to speak. Allow it to walk, to dance, to build, to create, to sing. Will you allow this radiance to flow outward, outward, outward. And again, for many of us, there's such a strong voice inside. Oh no, like, I better not show the world my divine self. But I encourage you to call the bluff of the mind. See, like, come on, like, what's actually the danger? It's far more dangerous to keep the beauty and the innocence of your heart locked away in some inner egoic chamber. It's far more dangerous. At the end of our life, we'll realize, oh, I didn't love. I did not fully love. I did not fully speak. I did not fully share of myself. There'll be tremendous heartache there. Tremendous heartache. Now, when I was a kid, I was like 14 years old. I worked in a nursing home. And these old ladies, incredibly old ladies at the end of life, they used to just reach up their little frail hands and just grab a hold of me. Grab a hold of me. And they'd say, don't spend your life working in a factory. Working in a factory. What they were communicating is, don't spend your life in a box, enclosed, repressed by the man, the boss man. Like, don't let some box, some system, whether it's an inner system of the super egoic, critical nature, or an outward system. This heart wants to shine, wants to speak, wants to act, wants to live, wants to live, wants to live. But again, it's like we have this old computer within us. Don't go there. Don't touch that. Don't speak too loud. Someone might not like it. Someone might reject you. And while all those things are true, when you come forward, people will reject you. When I first started teaching, I had this very funny thing. Someone invited me to come teach somewhere in the San Francisco Bay Area. I can't even remember. I was very excited. Some promoter of spiritual teachers. I said, okay, yeah, I'll come. And I came, and I sat in an empty room. Not even he showed up. I was like, jeez. Yeah, like, I didn't think it was so funny. I was a little bit crushed. I was like, gosh, dang. And I sat in that room, and this grace and this light began to descend. I remember just sitting there. And this happened not once. This actually happened a lot of times. The first couple of years of teaching. I sat in this room and this grace began to descend. I felt this radiance. And I looked at God and I said, like, what the hell? Like, come on. Like, and I drove like really far. I was already in the Bay Area, but anyone's driven in the Bay Area, it's the worst place to drive. It's going to take you 4 hours to go 20 miles. And I showed up. I was there early. And again, nobody was there but God. But God. And I looked up. I said, give me a break. Like, what's the deal? And I just heard this word, teach. Teach. I said, okay. Okay. So I sat there, just gently radiating this light. Let this love just pour through my body. I said, okay. 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 And then I walked outside, and it was so hilarious to me. There was a meetup group of, it was like almost maybe 10 people with little wiener dogs. It's like they got it together. They got it together. They were able to pull off a meeting. Like, they were able to pull it off. And again, I looked at God and I was just like, come on. Come on. Come on. And again, I heard that word teach. It's like, okay. 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 And so the next night, I had another teaching engagement, and it was, I think, somewhere like San Rafael, and so I went up there, across the bridge, and again, there was maybe 3 people there. 3 people. I said, okay. Okay. We had this lovely evening. And it's this willingness to listen to the right voice inside. Now, if I listen to my superego, like I would have said, I would have heard, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. There's no money in this. I'm paying to teach. In fact, the first couple of years, I paid to teach. I paid to teach. In fact, I can even say this last year when I showed up here. I paid to teach. I paid to teach. And that's happened. It's been a while since that's happened, but it happened. It happened. But again, I have faith in this inner voice despite the logic, despite the rationale, despite sometimes nobody being there. It takes courage to listen to the truth. It takes courage. Now, I used to have a good friend. He was a fellow Sangha member that I was with my teacher. And he used to say to me, hey, Craig, I hear you're teaching. I said, yeah, I'm doing a little bit of that. He said, why? Aren't there enough spiritual teachers? It's like, damn. 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 Being kind of mean here. Being kind of mean. And he's kind of sticking a knife in a little bit. He was a good friend of mine. When I looked at him with compassion, I saw that he too had this dream. He too had this dream to share from his heart. But he didn't believe in himself. He wasn't willing to put himself out there. He listened to the naysayer in his own mind. So not only was his mind saying this to me, like, why teach, Craig? There's enough teachers. His poor mind was saying that to his own self. His own self. And I felt his pain. It was heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. Because this man, despite the things he was saying to me, he had such a precious heart. Such a beautiful heart. He had tremendous light, and tremendous fire. He had this childlike innocence within him. But he also had this heavy voice. This voice of harshness, this voice of pain. And when I knew him, it was really his father's voice. It was his father's voice. And so sometimes we might find that on the path, that we're listening to mom's voice, like critical mom, critical dad, critical uncle, critical school teacher, whatever it is. Or we're listening to a voice of fear or unworthiness. And tonight, as we sit in this brilliance, in this truth, in this light, in this power, we see we have a choice. Which voice, which truth will I listen to? The truth of my ego, which is fundamentally scared, or fundamentally just habitual, just whatever the habits of the past are. Am I going to listen to that voice? Or am I going to listen to this depth, this radiance, this fire? Now, like Cynthia asked, well, how do I know the voice of the heart? It's a big part of the path, is to discern what the truth is. To discern what the truth is. So the truth comes with a feeling, a weight, a presence. The mind comes, well, we know what that's like. It's loud. It's in your face. It's in your head. And if we're primarily identified here, in the space of the mind, if we've never stepped out of our egoic nature, we know that mind. It's familiar. We know that voice. We speak its language. Sometimes when we first come down into the belly, it's like listening to Russian. It feels heavy, feels dense. Not sure what that's saying. Not sure what my belly's saying. But if you spend a little time there, and you get to know the Hara, you get to know this deeper aspect of your being, you'll see, oh, it speaks very clearly, very directly. Very directly. And so that's the invitation on retreat, is we're opening. We're opening to the truth of what we are. And beginning to get to know this. To get to know this. And as we get to know this greater truth, the invitation is to embody it. Rather, to allow it to live through you as you. Live through you as you. As you. And so that's the invitation, and I invite you to see retreat, to see this time as a little bit of a playground, and to play with these energies, to play with your presence, to let it come forward and speak. You know, Catherine, she did this beautiful thing the other day. She was speaking, got in her like little sweet voice, and then she said, wait, that's not the truth. I'm going to allow my true voice to speak. I'm going to allow my true voice to speak. And I had this very funny experience. One day my teacher's wife, she She came to me on retreat, and and she said, "Craig, your voice has changed over the retreat." And I had to laugh a little bit. I was like, "Oh yeah, I don't sound like I'm going through puberty anymore." It's like my voice changed, it deepened, it solidified. It solidified. It solidified. And I still do have kind of like this rough, raspy voice, and occasionally, it gets a little squeak in there, this or that. But it's funny, as the throat chakra opens, and the beauty and the power of the heart and the Hara begin to shine through the throat chakra, you might notice your voice deepening or just filling, just becoming more full, becoming more full. And you speak with a sense of power. And again, that's why we still know the words of Christ, because he spoke with this power, this depth, this depth, this depth. And so that's the invitation on retreat. I invite you to play with, I'm going to use this word, asserting your presence. Asserting it. Play with being big. Play with being seen and seeing. Like it's a radical gift to see another's divinity, to see their beauty, to see their innocence, to see their purity, despite their humanity. Like you might see them acting up as well, but to see their divinity, to look at them directly in the eyes, and to see their divine fire, their beauty, their grace. To see. To see is one of those wonderful gifts you can give another human being, is to see them fully. To see them. One of the great gifts that my teacher gave me. I've told this story often, but when I showed up to my teacher's house, I was a young punk. I had bleached blonde dreadlocks, gigantic purple pants, like skateboarder pants. I had a pair of boots, because he told me, if you're coming up here, you need to have a pair of boots and a pair of gloves. I went to the thrift store, got a $3 pair of boots that were size 12. They were 2 sizes too big. I looked like a clown. Like a clown. But he looked at me, and he immediately saw my divinity. He saw through just this wild outer costume that I had. And he saw my divinity. He saw it. And because he saw me, something woke up inside. I actually had no idea who he was, what I was getting into. I thought I was showing up to dig some holes for some man on a mountainside. And little did I know, 20 years later, that he had given me this immense gift. This immense gift, 20 years of training, 20 years of apprenticeship, 20 years of grace. And throughout that time, he saw me for the truth of what I was. He also saw and put up with my messy, chaotic, confused humanity. He saw that. He worked with that. But he saw my heart. He saw my soul. And he believed in it. And because he did, I was able to more fully believe in my own self. And so this is the gift of presence. The gift of presence. When you see yourself, and when you see another truly, we transform lives. We transform lives. And so anyways, I'm going to invite you all to stay in the truth, to walk in the truth, to live in the truth. And while you wash your face tonight, you look in the mirror to see your radiant divinity. To see, to acknowledge, to honor the beauty and the innocence that you are. That you are. So that's the homework. So much love to each of you. And we see you again at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. Yeah. So much love to each of you. Yeah. Yeah.